Hello, everybody. Razor Blade Mango here. Uh, so just so I don't get harassed by Japan's copyright bots, we're just gonna have a nice stock image for the video today. Just gonna be a quick little one as well. So, if you haven't heard the news by now, renowned, legendary Japanese anime director and Studio Ghibli co-founder Isao Takahata has passed away, or he passed away yesterday at the age of 82. Apparently, it was first reported that he had a failing heart for the last couple months. I guess now it is lung cancer, according to a couple of other articles I've read. But either way, he is no longer with us. So I haven't done one of these in a while. Like I haven't done one of these uh like RIP farewell videos in a long time. But this is definitely one that I wanted to do because unlike, people like Prince or David Bowie or any of these other like musicians or actors passing away, it's like, it's sad, but they haven't really had a big influence on my life, or have been like a presence in my life. And Isao Takahata is one of them, where this man's films have been, were like a pretty decently sized part of me growing into like the film lover that I am today. Um, because without him, there wouldn't be a Studio Ghibli. I mean, you have Miyazaki, you have Suzuki, but you gotta have Isao Takahata. And a lot of people, credit him for like Grave of the Fireflies and Pompoko and My Neighbor the Yamadas. It's also worth noting that he was the producer on like some of the most famous uh, Studio Ghibli films, and he worked with Miyazaki on them, like Nausicaa, The Valley of the Wind, and Castle in the Sky, Kiki's Delivery Service, and that's just before like he even gets into making his own films, which, like I mentioned, the Grave of the Fireflies and Only Yesterday and Pompoko, My Neighbor the Yamadas, Princess Kaguya. So if you guys have never seen an Isao Takahata film, I totally understand that as well, because his are some of the more different in the Studio Ghibli canon. Like Miyazaki has made strange films, like Porco Rosso is strange. Uh, Ponyo is very strange. Even The Wind Rises is very different from anything Miyazaki has ever done. But to go to the really surreal, kind of like tough to get into stuff, you gotta go to Isao Takahata, who really, broke out of the norm of Studio Ghibli's, usual stuff in order to craft things that are, legendary to this very day. And I must admit, I'm not crazy about some of his films. I flat out don't like a few of them. I've never been able to get into My Neighbors the Yamadas. I've watched it maybe like 2 times. I've never made it all the way through. I just can't. Pompoko is like an hour too long. That movie goes on for like forever. It feels like it does, and it's very just odd, and it's tough for me to get into that one. Tale of Princess Kaguya, I like the first half of it. The second half, I think, is very problematic. But then again, I'll probably need to see it again, and I'm probably gonna watch all these films now that he's gone. Just honor the memory of him and all that. Um, but the two of his that I think rank among Ghibli's best are Grave of the Fireflies, which that's an obvious choice, and Only Yesterday, which I think is the singular, unseen masterpiece of Studio Ghibli's catalog of films. Where I guess I'll start with Grave of the Fireflies. Grave of the Fireflies, rightly so, is considered one of the most like saddest films ever made, and it's normally put under as a like an anti-war film, but I guess it's something that Isao Takahata, that's like a label that he didn't like being attached to Grave of the Fireflies. He always considered it just more of a relatable humanist story, which I find really interesting. And if you've never seen Grave of the Fireflies, it's it's tough. That one's tough to get through because it is just really like just overwhelmingly sad and depressing to watch. But I don't think it ever falls into being so depressing to the point of it like the beauty being eclipsed from it, because I think there are really beautiful moments in Grave of the Fireflies that you will not find in any other Studio Ghibli film, let alone any other anime film ever. Like there is not a film out there like Grave of the Fireflies. Even The Wind Rises, which is another World War II from Japan's perspective movie from the Hayao Miyazaki. I think Takahata did it better. I think he did it better capturing the absolutely just horrific nature of war and how that just devastates families and lives. But he also finds ways to put just these like beautiful hypnotic images in there, like the fireflies being cast out into the dark and just lighting up, and for like this one brief moment, these malnutrition children experience joy in like one of the most joyless situations imaginable. And one of the things I found interesting, about Roger Ebert's interpretation of it is that he said he found the death in that movie more powerful because you weren't watching actors die. You were watching it felt like he actually was watching people die because they were drawn. And that line from him always stuck with me, and thinking about it more, I agree that is a really good reason why the death in that movie is much more effective, because it's not done by human actors. It's done by pen, paper, art, coloring, all that. And Grave of the Fireflies is actually showing with the Studio Ghibli Fest that's playing. I think it might be playing outside of North America, but I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. But if it is, Grave of the Fireflies is going to be showing in the theaters, I think, in June or July. I'm pretty sure it's July. But if you haven't seen it, I think the big screen would be a really, really great way to go watch it. Especially, like, I wasn't planning on going to see it because I didn't know if I ever wanted to see it again just because of how sad it is. But I feel like I kind of have to now that Isao Takahata's gone, just to honor him and all that. The other film of his that I really, really love is Only Yesterday, which is about a woman going back to her childhood, where she grew up as a child in the countryside, in order to kind of find herself and get away from the city. And that one is, I remember, I haven't seen it in, oh my god, I haven't seen it probably in like 7-8 years, but I still remember things from it. I still remember details. I still remember the beautiful, warm, nostalgic atmosphere that film creates, and how it mixes the current situation she's in now with trying to find herself in the countryside and like her old family area versus what she was like as a child. And it's just this really, like, there's a lot of movies that do this where they kind of like, oh, I must go to the countryside to find myself and yada yada yada. But this is one of the ones that I've seen where it's really interesting how Isao Takahata plays with the concept of looking upon your past in order to move on with your future. And I'm somebody that believes that I'm not somebody that does not believe in the whole thing like, oh, your past is in the past, like you can forget about that. And it's like, no, your past is, I mean, you don't have to dwell on your past, but your past is a part of you, and you can learn from it. You can find ways to kind of accept it and move on from it, but never forget it. And that's the message I think Only Yesterday gives me, at least, where it's fine to look at your past, and it's fine to learn lessons from it in order to become, happier and with your future and move on. And I think that's wonderful. The big moment I'll always remember from Only Yesterday, at least until I watched it again, but the big moment I remember the most is there's a scene in one of the characters' flashbacks when she's a child, and her family picks up this pineapple, I believe it's a pineapple, and they sit down with the pineapple, and the character is like so excited to eat it, and her like all the whole family's excited to eat it, and when they finally get into the pineapple and they start eating it, there's this sense of disappointment kind of overwhelming over them, and you can see that the main character as a kid is kind of like forcing herself to like it almost, even though you can, like, it's done so subtly and so brilliantly with the animation. You can tell that there's this sense of disappointment on her face when she's eating it, but it's like because her family was so excited for it, and because she was so excited for it, she does not want to admit the disappointment that she feels or express it from eating this this fruit that she was looking forward to that was disappointing. And I found that so powerful because I always used to do that too when I was younger. When it came to movies, like movies I was really looking forward to and were like really disappointing for me, I would kind of force myself to like them, and I really related with that from the main character. And it's such a small little moment in the movie, but like so many people would kind of like consider that a throwaway scene, but I think that scene is such a really just true to life moment. Like I can relate to that so much, just trying to force myself to be not disappointed by something. And but the way Takahata just, and the animators just portrayed that, I thought was just fucking brilliant. I thought it was just so fucking good, so good. But yeah, that's I've gone on longer than I wanted to, but I'm not gonna get this chance again. So there you go. This is my video to Isao Takahata. Farewell, Isao Takahata. Thank you so much for everything you've done in life. That was, that affected me. That made me cry. That helped push along other things that I love more than more than some of your films. But yeah, yesterday we've lost a titan this week. We've lost one of the titans of Studio Ghibli and animation itself, and his body of work exemplifies what gorgeous things are possible with the basics, just with paper, something to draw with, colors, and a stellar imagination. And that's really what Isao Takahata's body of work resembles. It's just the possibilities of animation that I feel like are lost on most films today. But Isao Takahata is one of the greats. It's one of the titans. Farewell, Isao Takahata, and thank you for everything. Rest in peace.